In 2021, private investigators were hired to track down Changpeng Zhao, better known as CZ, the founder of Binance. For months, they searched hotels, airports, business records. Every lead went cold. CZ had used his wealth and power to blur his past, hide his tracks, and make himself almost impossible to find. He ran the world's largest crypto exchange without a fixed office.
Can I ask where you are right now, where you're doing stay at home?
Yeah, I'm in Asia, so it's 7 p.m. here, so it's 7
Where
a.m.
in
your time.
Asia? Where in Asia?
I prefer not to disclose that. I think that's my own privacy.
While in the shadows, he rose higher than anyone else in crypto, even helping trigger the downfall of Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. How did CZ rise from flipping burgers at McDonald's to become the undisputed king of crypto? And why did the US government decide he was a threat that had to be stopped? Behind the counter at a McDonald's in Vancouver, a teenager in a paper hat flipped burgers, earning just enough cash for small luxuries. The world would one day know the boy as CZ, one of the wealthiest and most powerful figures in crypto. But flipping burgers was just the beginning of a story that would shake the financial world. CZ's story begins far from Canada. He was born in 1977 in China's Jiangsu province. His father, a university professor, was accused by the Communist Party of promoting capitalist ideas. One day he was a respected academic, the next he was banished to the countryside, stripped of status and comfort. Life there was harsh. For young CZ, childhood meant long lines, food rationing, and meals that rarely included meat.
I was born in a village in like rural China. I moved to from that small town to a real village before I can even remember. The place I grew up at that I remember, we didn't have running water. We didn't have electricity. Even when I was in elementary school, I was studying under oil lamps with like a glass cover. So a few years later, we got a water pump that you can pump water out. And then a few years later, we got electricity. And then I moved.
In 1989, during the Tiananmen Square uprising, CZ's father was studying for a PhD in Vancouver. Fearing for her family's safety, his mother fled with CZ and his sister. For 3 days, they waited outside the Canadian embassy, pressed against its gates, clutching their papers and their hope. That wait would change the course of CZ's life forever. Canada was like another world, no rationing, no surveillance, just freedom and small luxuries CZ had never known. He tasted fresh milk for the first time. His parents even scraped together $6,000 to buy an IBM computer. It wasn't just a machine, it was a portal. The first step into the digital world where CZ would one day make his mark. But freedom also came with responsibility. In high school, CZ worked the grill at McDonald's for 2 years and took summer night shifts pumping gas at Chevron. He was a bright student and captain of the volleyball team. Beneath the paper hat and volleyball jersey, CZ was quietly sharpening the discipline that would define him. In 1995, he moved to Montreal to study computer science at McGill University, one of Canada's most prestigious schools. At first, he was just another hard-working student chasing good grades and a safe career. Then one day, CZ picked up a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The book lit a fire inside him. The message was simple but powerful. True wealth comes from ownership, not wages. For CZ, it was more than advice. It was a prophecy. He didn't want to be an employee forever like his father. He wanted to build his own empire. His talent for math and coding opened doors quickly. CZ dropped out of McGill to take a full-time job at the Tokyo Stock Exchange, where he built software that kept trades moving at lightning speed. Later in New York, he developed systems at Bloomberg that shaped how Wall Street moved billions. Most would have stayed there, chasing six-figure bonuses, but CZ was restless. In 2005, he left the comfort of Wall Street for a booming Shanghai, China's own Silicon Valley, in search of the next big challenge. That challenge came in 2013 during a poker game. The table was cluttered with cards and chips, the air thick with smoke. Between shuffles, Bobby Lee, China's loudest Bitcoin evangelist, leaned in, eyes bright, and spoke of a new kind of money: Bitcoin. CZ listened, and something clicked. Soon after, he went all in.
So I saw Bitcoin first. So it took me about 6 months to understand it fully, to have full conviction. I was introduced to Bitcoin in July 2013. Bitcoin was $70, right? And then by December, when I fully understood it, it was like trading at 1,000. Right, so that's the peak at December 2013. I was, damn, I'm really late. I got to get in this early. So I sold my apartment in like January 2014, and I got paid in tranches, right? So every tranche I get, I will buy Bitcoin. So I got paid at, so I bought at $800 one tranche, $600 one tranche. This is January 2014, it was like kind of going down. And then by February or March, I got the last payment, and I bought like $400 US. So my average price is about $600 US per Bitcoin. And then you went from to like 200 and 150 for stayed at 200 for like 18 months, right? So that's like 2014 to early 2015. So I basically lost 2/3 of a house as soon as I bought. And luckily, my family is pretty supportive. And they, other than my mom's like, no, you stupid kid. Like, why did you do this? Why couldn't you like kept your original job at Bloomberg? You were making good money, et cetera, et cetera. So, but anyway, she was just nagging. She wasn't really able to do anything anyway. So, but
he sold his Shanghai apartment, poured $1 million into Bitcoin, and walked away from stability into chaos. He joined a crypto startup, then rose to become head of engineering at OKCoin, one of China's largest crypto exchanges at the time. But CZ was never meant to work under someone else's vision. After clashing with the CEO, he walked away. This time, he wasn't just quitting a job, he was preparing to build an empire. The crypto world was exploding in 2017. Bitcoin and Ethereum were hitting record highs, and Coinbase dominated the market. At the same time, a new way of raising money was taking off. Initial coin offerings, where startups sold their own digital tokens directly to investors instead of going through traditional venture capital. CZ saw his chance. In July, he launched Binance through an ICO that raised $15 million in mere weeks. Traders and investors flocked to Binance. The platform was sleek, the fees were low, and signing up was effortless. Users were thrilled by the sheer variety of tokens available, from well-established coins to lesser-known digital assets. In less than a year, Binance dethroned Coinbase to become the largest trading platform in the world. It processed a staggering $4 billion in daily trading volume.
I think this whole thing just happened so quickly that I actually don't know how exactly it happened at every step. We certainly did not plan it. If you asked me like a year ago when we first started, I would give you like maybe 3 years, 5 years will become number one, but it happened in 6 months. So we got very lucky in a lot of places, but we worked really hard. We had the right values. I think we had the right ethics that the community appreciated. In an industry where there's less regulation, it's actually more important for you to do the right thing. So sometimes.
But even as Binance thrived, danger lurked. The Chinese government was cracking down on crypto exchanges, and CZ raced to stay ahead. He moved Binance's servers out of Alibaba's cloud and beyond the Great Firewall, shifting them to Amazon Cloud instead. He then moved Binance headquarters to Tokyo. In 2018, trouble arrived in the form of hackers. Traders were tricked into sharing their Binance logins, and their accounts were drained. Binance was not liable for the losses, but Japanese regulators were alarmed. They issued warnings, accusing the exchange of operating without registration and allowing Japanese residents to open accounts without proper ID verification. Criminal charges loomed if Binance continued operating without a license. CZ had to act fast. He moved his company to Malta. The country promised a safe harbor, branding itself as the blockchain island and welcoming crypto innovation with open arms. The honeymoon with Malta was also a short one. Soon, the island introduced new regulations requiring disclosure of transaction and account records and strict anti-money laundering measures. CZ felt the familiar tug of frustration. Government regulators were closing in on his crypto empire yet again. In late 2019, CZ made a bold declaration: Binance would have no headquarters. Unlike rivals like Coinbase and Kraken, which were anchored by bureaucratic red tape and local regulators, his company would roam freely, untethered and unstoppable. And soon, CZ himself was also off the grid. No one really knew where he was. Even without a headquarters, Binance continued to soar. CZ traveled constantly, carrying only a laptop and a phone as his command center. From airports, cafes, and hotel rooms, he moved billions of dollars, spun up new products, and listed tokens that could instantly set crypto markets on fire. Binance employees mirrored this nomadic lifestyle. Scattered across dozens of countries, they worked remotely, connected only through encrypted apps and late-night calls. They became part of a digital hive, everywhere and nowhere at once. There was no central office, no building anyone could raid. When reporters asked where Binance's headquarters were, CZ simply said, "Wherever I sit, that's where Binance is," a line that only added to his mythical aura.
Wherever I sit, it's going to be the Binance office.
Some saw him as a visionary, a modern Marco Polo transporting digital wealth across borders unshackled by governments and banks. Binance moved fast, spanned the globe, and let anyone with an internet connection enter the new digital economy. It was finance without borders, an empire without a flag. Others saw something darker, a shadow emperor ruling global markets accountable to no one. No capital city, no parliament, no oversight. And yet, billions of dollars flowed through his empire every day. It was power unlike anything the financial world had ever seen. The European Union couldn't regulate him because he wasn't technically there. The US couldn't stop him because Binance wasn't an American company. China had already banned crypto, and yet, through VPNs and offshore accounts, Binance still reached Chinese traders. The dark side of CZ's empire eventually started to show. Reuters reported that between 2017 and 2021, Binance processed at least $2 billion in illicit transactions, including fraud, hacks, and drug money. Chainalysis found that in 2019 alone, $800 million in criminal funds flowed through Binance, more than any other crypto exchange in the world. US and international regulators took notice. Soon, Uncle Sam would come looking for the shadow emperor. In the courts of ancient emperors, a single decree could topple kingdoms. In the digital age, a single tweet from CZ wielded a similar force. He held crypto's most coveted power, the power of listing. On Wall Street, IPOs take months. In crypto, a nod from Binance could send a token soaring hundreds of % overnight. The phenomenon became known as the Binance bump. CZ was the kingmaker, anointing winners and casting others into obscurity. And like all emperors, CZ had his rivals, none more infamous than Sam Bankman-Fried, the wunderkind founder of FTX. While CZ ruled from the shadows, Sam thrived in the spotlight. He courted regulators, lobbied Congress, and donated millions to politicians. He painted himself as the responsible face of crypto, the one who would bring legitimacy to the industry.
I have a duty as a member of the industry to try and get us regulated, to try and move the industry in a more responsible direction. And I think that requires engagement. I think it would be irresponsible of me not to engage with Capitol Hill, with regulators. And the things that I've been arguing for are more regulation for the industry. I think that's what's right for the country. I don't know if that's what's right for a company, but it's what needs to happen.
Let me ask you this.
But behind the scenes, a Cold War simmered. FTX and Binance were locked in a silent battle for dominance. FTX was rising fast, threatening Binance's supremacy. On November 2, 2022, CoinDesk revealed a fatal flaw in Sam's empire. Alameda, FTX's trading firm, was mostly funded by its own token, FTT. It was a house built on monopoly money. Worse, Sam had been secretly using customer deposits to cover risky bets. FTX was already rotten. It just needed a spark. That spark came on November 6th when CZ tweeted that Binance was selling its crypto holdings in FTX. Panic spread instantly, and traders pulled out billions from FTX in a matter of hours. Within days, Sam's empire was crumbling. Binance initially signed an agreement to potentially buy FTX and cover its liquidity crunch. For a moment, the world held its breath. Could CZ actually save his biggest rival? After analyzing FTX's books, Binance quickly walked away. CZ claimed the problems were too massive, misused funds, and looming investigations. The final blow had been struck. Sam, once hailed as crypto's genius, was exposed as the architect of one of modern finance's largest frauds. He was later arrested and sentenced to 25 years in prison. With a single tweet, CZ had toppled his greatest rival. Binance's throne remained unshaken, its emperor untouchable. But every dog has his day. Just like Sam, CZ too would soon see the inside of a prison cell.
I got breaking news right now regarding Binance. Our Kate Rooney following that story for us. Kate, what do we know?
Hey, Scott. So Binance and its CEO plan to strike a plea deal with the DOJ. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. They're citing sources familiar with the matter. This is the world's largest crypto exchange. CZ, rather, the CEO, Changpeng Zhao, is expected to plead guilty to violating criminal U.S. anti-money laundering laws. Again, Journal here citing sources. It preserves the company's ability to operate, though. CZ is scheduled, according to the Journal, to appear in a Seattle federal court this afternoon to enter his plea. Binance is owned by Zhao. He's the majority owner. He is going to plead guilty here to criminal charges and agree to pay fines of about $4 billion, $4.3 billion. And that includes amounts to settle civil allegations made by regulators. This would allow Zhao to retain his majority ownership of Binance. According to the Journal, he will not have an executive role at the company. I did speak to a source close to the company who says that this has been on the table for years. CZ stepping down has been something that U.S. regulators have been seeking for about 3 years now. The source telling me regulators have been seeking his removal. It ends this years-long investigation by the DOJ. A source also saying,
on November 21, 2023, CZ stunned the world. He stepped down as Binance CEO after pleading guilty to violating U.S. anti-money laundering laws. The man who had built the largest crypto empire now faced exile from his own kingdom and a looming prison sentence. The fall had been years in the making. The U.S. government had long circled Binance, investigating money laundering, tax evasion, and illegal derivatives trading. By June 2023, the SEC filed a sweeping lawsuit against Binance and its founder. The SEC accused Binance of breaking U.S. laws, operating without a license, secretly letting Americans trade on its main platform, mixing customer funds with its own, and misrepresenting the exchange's safety. The lawsuit painted a picture of a company that had grown too fast, prioritizing market dominance over compliance. The accusations didn't stop there. Prosecutors also alleged that Binance had processed transactions for terrorist groups, ransomware hackers, and sanctioned countries like Iran and North Korea. Even transactions by Hamas, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS had been traced on the platform. The exchange that promised to democratize finance had become a highway for violent bad actors, with billions flowing through weak or non-existent checks. Binance agreed to pay $4.3 billion in fines, one of the largest corporate penalties ever. CZ was sentenced to 4 months in federal prison, making him the wealthiest inmate in history. He hadn't lost everything. Binance would survive under new leadership, but the era of CZ's reign was over. Even at the height of his empire, CZ wore a simple Apple Watch instead of an expensive Rolex, dressed casually, and avoided the trappings of extravagant wealth. Luxury cars and flashy jewelry never interested him. For meetings, he often rode a scooter through city streets, and in all of his life, he has owned just one car, a practical Toyota van. In a world obsessed with status symbols, CZ's focus remained elsewhere, on work, on innovation, and on creating impact. His dedication to simplicity extended beyond lifestyle to mindset. CZ often spoke about financial freedom not as the accumulation of wealth, but as the ability to focus on meaningful work.
I don't really care about wealth, money, and also rankings, etc. I also, I believe it was a Forbes interview just a couple of days ago, I said, I will commit to donate 99% of my wealth away.
After stepping down from leading Binance, CZ turned his focus outward, channeling his energy into a new mission: education. He launched Giggle Academy, a nonprofit platform using games and blockchain to make education fun and accessible for children worldwide. CZ's mission is staggering: to reach 1 billion children globally, giving them tools and opportunities he once had to fight for. Still, as Binance's majority shareholder, with a 90% stake in the company, his shadow lingers over the empire he built. The question remains: will the Shadow Emperor rise again?